Well, a very good evening to you. This is NTV Tonight with the latest headlines from within and beyond our borders. Here's some of our top stories tonight. Tonight, extraordinary examinations done in extraordinary times.
The integrity of the examination process shall remain unquestionable.
And tales of candidates juggling parenthood and the test.
We have admitted 2 candidates. One is for KCPE, another one KCSE.
Also tonight,
our health facilities are currently overstretched.
A healthcare system burdened by the sting of COVID-19 as government calls for patience on vaccines.
Vaccines are not available for everybody as yet.
Plus, Tanzania's new leader stamps authority amid jitters.
Kwa wale ambao wana mashaka mwanamke huyu ataweza kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, nataka niwaambie aliyesimama hapa ni rais.
Host of African leaders eulogize former President John Pombe Magufuli.
Ameonyesha ya kwamba sisi kama Waafrika tuko na uwezo wa kujitoa katika dependence ya watu na nchi za nje.
And ravages of water scarcity in northeastern pastoralist communities on this World Water Day.
Tulikuwa na 150 mbuzi. Sasa hata nile kidogo sasa uliona hiyo 30.
Mishi yetu ya kuona mvua kwanza ni April last year. Ile mvua ya October November ilifail.
NTV Tonight with Zainab Ismail.
On the sign language interpretation this evening is Flora Atieno. We begin with education matters, where KCPE candidates across the country have completed the first day of final examinations being undertaken under extraordinary circumstances. The government says the administration of the exams has begun across the country without any major hitches and that the integrity of the test remains unquestionable. Laila Mohammed starts us off.
The 2020 KCPE class has begun their journey to the next step in their academic life, albeit under different circumstances, born out of a global pandemic which continues to ravage the world. By 6 a.m. Monday, Ministry of Education officials were already at the designated exam collection centers across the country to begin collection of the day's exam papers.
Everybody in this republic to pray for our children, because this is the very first time in the history of this country that our children are going to face an examination after having been away from class for 7 months.
According to the Kenya National Examinations Council, 1,191,725 candidates will be expected to sit the examinations in 28,467 KCPE examination centers. The ministry says that those centers affected by flooding, insecurity or closure will be hosted in other schools or government institutions. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has assured parents that candidates who are unable to access their registered centers will be allowed to sit the exams in other stations.
Those people who took money from the children, and we find that the children were not registered, we have decided as a government that the children must take the exam. Even though under protest, they must take the exam and they must not be penalized.
Examination centers which were affected by floods, especially in Baringo County, have been moved to neighboring schools, while those that have less than 15 candidates have been merged with those closest to them. Some private schools had registered candidates but closed down due to the economic hardships occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. With the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic currently hitting the country, the ministry says that all MOH guidelines will be strictly followed in the examination centers, where NEC insists on a seating arrangement of 1.22 meters between candidates. Vigilators will be expected to supervise between 15 to 40 candidates, with everyone participating in administration of the tests required to wear face masks. In January, the Kenya National Examinations Council asked sub-county directors of education to identify public institutions to host such candidates. To prevent cheating, Professor Magoha instructed centre managers and invigilators to ensure that all candidates remove their face masks and display their insides before they are allowed to wear them back.
The examination is being secured. The integrity of the examination process shall remain unquestionable. Each centre manager has 2 policemen whose job is to ensure that that examination is kept with the utmost integrity.
Professor Magoha has promised the national examinations will be conducted and marked with a human face, owing to the special circumstances occasioned by COVID-19 that caused closure of schools for nearly a year. This is to ensure the candidates will not be disadvantaged. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Now, pupils that gave birth just hours before the start of the exams were among those not left out. 3 pupils from the Rift Valley region set the exams in separate hospitals, while some pupils in Baringo County were forced to sit the exams in a neighboring school following a bandit attack. Ruth Sarmoy has more details.
After prematurely giving birth to twins just 10 days ago, a 17-year-old girl from Nyota Primary School in Kericho County had to sit for her exams at the Kericho Referral Hospital.
In our hospital, we have admitted 2 candidates. One is for KCPE, another one KCSE. Both the mother and baby are stable, doing well. Today, the mother started for the first paper in the morning, which was mathematics. She's now going in for English paper. We wish her the best. And
just hours after she delivered her baby, a 17-year-old pupil from Kuresoi Primary was put to test at the Nakuru Referral Hospital.
Tumeweka mikakati kuhakikisha kwamba wale wanafunzi ambao wako na ujauzito wanafanya mtihani. Hata yale madawati ambayo yanatumia atakuwa ile ambayo iko na space ya kutosha, kama msichana ako na ujauzito anaweza kuwa pia comfortable kufanya.
Another new young mother sat for her exams at a hospital in Narok County. In Baringo County, pupils from Arabal Primary School were forced to move to a neighboring school following a banditry attack in Baringo South on the eve of the KCPE exams, despite police presence in the area. Pupils from Makutani Boarding Primary School sat for their exams under tight security.
Mashule za upili ya kule Tiati, Baringo North na Baringo South, sehemu ambapo imekuwa kero sana kwa mambo ya security. Ningeomba national government waweke personnel ya kutosha.
In Kajiado County, over 100 pregnant and lactating young mothers sat for the exams. Transport CAS Wavinya Ndeti, who led the exercise, said sensitization on the importance of education has encouraged pregnant girls and teen mothers to continue with school. Ruth Sarmoy, NTV.
Or from primary to secondary examinations, teachers have threatened to boycott marking of national examination papers if measures to contain the spread of COVID-19 will not be put in place by the government. The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, that is KUPPET, Secretary General Akelo Mizori, decried what he termed as reluctance by the government to expand marking centres in order to protect the examiners against the respiratory disease. Okukusa has more.
Speaking after a meeting of the union's national executive board members in Kisumu, the KUPPET boss asked the Ministry of Education to urgently address the situation.
We had expected that the Kenya National Examination Council could have made provision that exam centers be expanded due to COVID, because the current regime is that these ones are concentrated in particular places and there's a lot of congestion.
The KUPPET boss underscored the need to open up more examination marking centers to attain the stipulated social distancing requirement in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19, warning that failure to address the concerns may lead to drastic measures.
We cannot congest our teachers in dormitories as it has happened in the past. But if they don't listen to this, then we'll be asking our teachers not to report to the marking centers until these conditions are met.
The Kuppet top organ sent out the warning even as Teachers Service Commission Chief Executive Officer Nancy Macharia called on teachers to take up the COVID-19 vaccine to enable them discharge their duties diligently.
Please take advantage of this vaccine which is being given to you as frontline workers.
Power, 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 power.
The Kuppet officials also appealed to Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha to help fast-track the release of capitation funds to enable schools to efficiently manage the national exams. Okukusa, NTV, Kisumu.
Well, with the exam season already underway, the country finds itself undertaking 2 education curriculums as the 844 system fades out and the newly adopted CBC takes shape. Well, this week, the KCPE and KCSE written examinations begin, albeit under unique circumstances, but still under traditional administrative conditions that experts in the education sector say will change over time. Leila Mohammed looks at the differences in testing under CBC and 844.
The presence of heavy security at the 437 examination containers across the country was not a departure from the norm. For the last decade, security has been deployed in the administration of national exams by the Ministry of Education in a bid to curb cheating.
Unlike where we are coming from, where examinations came from the Kenya National Examination Council, they are administered in very strict conditions with the policemen and everybody around, and then the papers are brought back to Nairobi, it is marked, then the marks are awarded.
According to those tasked with implementing the new competency-based curriculum, the change is the style of testing.
Examination will not be life and death business, because you have to observe to know that a competence has developed. If it is communication, you must see me communicating for you to know that I can be able to communicate. So that is why the assessment would have to be very different. It will not be coming as a secret. We'll reach a level where actually the learners even know what they are going to be tested on.
Coming 5 months after the traditional October exam window had lapsed, teachers have noted how pupils responded in the Grade 4 assessment compared to the KCPE exams currently underway.
Grade 4, it has focused more on competencies. It has focused on more what the learner has been doing. But you look at the Class 8 exam, it is about recalling some of these aspects that the learner has learned.
The CBC Grade 4 assessments were undertaken in the classroom under the supervision of teachers. At the end of Grade 6, they face a national assessment which mimics KCPE exams.
Because it is not only testing on knowledge, but it wants to test on acquisition of skills, attitudes and values.
But while teachers say they have adapted to the new system, they are concerned about the financial implications of administering the assessments. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
And we wish all the candidates all the very best in the exams. Well, away from education matters tonight, the country has hit the highest COVID-19 positivity rate this year at 22%. Well, in the last 24 hours, 1,130 people tested positive out of a sample size of 5,119, pushing the total number of confirmed cases up to 122,040. 12 more deaths were also recorded in the last 24 hours, which occurred on diverse dates, pushing Kenya's total coronavirus death toll to 2,023. On a positive note, however, 754 people have recovered, and the total number of recoveries now stand at 90,376. Currently, 1,013 patients are admitted in various hospitals across the country, with the number of ICU admissions shooting up to 120. 3,003 patients remain in home-based isolation and care. And as our reporter Helen Aura now tells us, the National Emergency Response Committee says medical facilities are being stretched beyond capacity by the pandemic.
The upward trajectory of new infections is unrelenting. Today, the positivity rate has increased from an average of 17% to 22%, the highest reported this year.
Our health facilities are currently overstretched But this does not mean that they have been overrun.
We have been able to identify some variants, but these variants have been specifically in travelers who've come into the country and exited out. And so right now, in terms of this third wave, we are noting that it is not particularly propelled by the new variants.
Among key facilities stretched by the pandemic is the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, where all 32 ICU beds are now fully occupied. The facility says it will expand by an extra 30 units to be able to meet the demand.
We are going to be training the personnel in this hospital as we train others so they can be at the same level. We are also going, as the governor has said, to collaborate on the referral system just so that people who have complications can come to our hospital.
The committee is also cautioning facilities that seem to be jumping protocol by vaccinating ordinary citizens, insisting that the target for the first phase is frontline workers. To this end, some 40,000 frontline workers have been vaccinated.
Vaccines are not available for everybody as yet. And I want to repeat that. I think somewhere along the line, there seems to have developed some confusion that all persons, anybody, can walk to a vaccination center to get vaccines. And I want to make it very clear, those carrying out vaccinations will have to account for every dose that they have used. And that dose that they have used must be matched against an eligible person.
But even after the jab, extra caution is still being encouraged.
The AstraZeneca vaccine, once you are injected, the immune response comes after 3 weeks, partial immune response after 3 weeks. The full protection comes after the second dose, and it also takes 3 weeks to confer you. So you are talking of 14 weeks.
Helen Aura, NTV.
Now, Lorna Irungu, described as an icon and trailblazer in the media industry, has passed on from COVID-19. A renowned media personality, Lorna had hosted the popular show Omo Pick a Box in the 90s and Club Kiboko from 1994 to 1999. Later, she was the host of State of the Nation at Nation FM. Lorna had battled lupus, a long-term autoimmune disease, while in her 20s, which led to kidney failure in 1997. She underwent 3 kidney transplants between 1998 and 2008. Lorna was, however, never shy about her health battles, stating that it was what forced her to drop out of the limelight. Before her death, she was the director of the Gina Dean Communication Agency Group. She leaves behind her husband and her 12-year-old daughter.
Pre-existing conditions, whether it's someone with hypertension, and I think not understanding what a pre-existing condition is. It's anything that your body is already struggling to fight with, that then if you add something else is a bigger battle. And if you understand how the virus works, it shuts down those systems and forces your body not to be able to fight back. So just take care and be responsible is what it is.
Well, not only was she an icon, but a friend to many, and this is definitely a huge, huge blow to the media industry. Our deepest condolences to her family and friends across the media industry and even beyond that. Well, away from that sad news to what is also happening in Tanzania. Tanzania's new president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, has fired the first shot against her detractors, cautioning those who would undermine her authority by virtue of her gender. President Samia was speaking at the Dodoma Requiem Mass, where the East African community and the Southern African Development Community also jostled for Tanzania's membership. NTV's senior political affairs reporter, Kennedy Mureithi, has the details.
President Uhuru Kenyatta was among 9 other heads of state and government who graced the farewell mass for fallen Tanzania President John Pombe Magufuli. Here, President Kenyatta describing President Magufuli as a leader who believed in the unity of the region and worked towards actualizing a unified approach to tackling problems that face the two nations.
Na ndipo tukasema sisi kama Wakenya na mimi kwanza binafsi ya kwamba iwe liwalo, mimi lazima nije tuungane pamoja nanyi kumsindikisha ndugu yetu.
We have lost a true Pan-Africanist
a president who was unapologetic about being an African.
Mheshimiwa Rais Magufuli amegusa maisha ya wengi kwa muda mfupi na kwa namna ya kipekee sana.
President Kenyatta also took the opportunity to woo the grieving nation, calling on the leadership to rethink the relationship between the two nations with the aim of strengthening it.
Mwito.
At one point, he paused his speech for Muslim prayers before resuming.
Wadadangu Samia na sasa rais mwenzangu, barabara umeoneshwa na ndugu yetu Rais Magufuli. Mwito unao, hapa ni kazi tu.
Also at play during the event was the battle for Tanzania's membership in regional economic blocs, that is the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community.
Na nataka kuhakikishia ya kwamba tutaendelea kufanya kazi pamoja, tutaendelea kushirikiana, tutaendelea kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumeleta jumuiya yetu ya Afrika Mashariki pamoja na kontinenti letu la Afrika pamoja.
Je, tunawezaje kumwaga mtu aliyeongoza SADC kwa kujitolea na aliyekuwa na tamaa ya kuiona kanda yetu ya kusini ikiwa uhuru kutoka kwa utegemezi wa kiuchumi? Mabibi na mabwana, SADC ipo hapa kwenye afla hii ya kuagana na inawakilishwa katika kiwango cha juu kabisa kama mlivyoona.
President Suluhu, as if appearing to hit out at Akabal, keen on undermining her authority, also stamped her authority.
Kwa wale ambao wana mashaka mwanamke huyu ataweza kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, nataka niwaambie aliyesimama hapa ni rais. Nataka nirudie kwamba aliyesimama hapa ni rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, ambaye maumbile yake ni mwanamke.
Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
Well, this was during the state funeral for the late President John Pombe Magufuli that was held in the capital in Dodoma. Let's take a quick break now. We still have more lined up for you. Stay with us.
Marakwet na Mpokot walihama kwa sababu ya vita. Tuliweza kuongea na kukaa chini na kupata mradi wa kusanya maziwa ambaye ni Leland Highland Dairy.
How Leland Highland Dairies is changing lives among the two communities in Kapsait village.
Pesa ambayo nilitumia nikajengea hii jengo, 3/4 ya pesa ni inatokana na maziwa.
Nimepata pesa, watoto wamesoma.
Also, the role of Cooperative Bank of Kenya.
Tumepata loan mingi zaidi ya milioni 40 kutoka Cobank.
So far we've done around 5 coolers.
Standing tall at the heart of Tattoo City lies Lifestyle Heights, a prestigious property in a prime area. Contact us and come see us for an amazing open day on the 27th and 28th of March.
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
Health is wealth, and a healthy body works just like a machine. With many moving parts, it's all about what's inside. We like clockwork operations. Blending efficiency with quality has always been our drive. Every step of the way, our ambition is to achieve maximum health benefits out of our selection of maize and wheat flour. From our grain selection, sorting, and processing, we produce the only toxin-safe flour, the first of its kind in Kenya, a nutritious flour that keeps your family rich. Because health is wealth. Exposure to aflatoxins is associated with an increased risk of cancer. Ajab is a certified toxin-safe flour.
With the Stay Soft refill, saving money is as easy as snip, pour, mix with water, and shake. Stay Soft refill. It's 2 liters of Stay Soft for up to 30% less.
What does it take to move
move a nation, it starts with a dream. A dream which gains momentum and becomes bigger and better and more audacious. What does it take to move a nation? It takes the commitment to innovate and invest in breakthrough technology, to build partnerships across the continent, to create connections, to enable businesses to make their dreams a reality. What does it take to move a nation? It takes Sendi.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongeze zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Nitajua nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444 hash utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Marakwet na Mpokot waliama kwa sababu ya vita. Tuliweza kuongea na kukaa chini na kupata mradi wa kusanya maziwa ambaye ni Leland Highland Dairy.
How Leland Highland Dairies is changing lives among the two communities in Kapsait village.
Pesa ambayo nilitumia nikajengea hii jengo. 3/4 ya pesa ni inatokana na maziwa.
Nimepata pesa, watoto wamesoma.
Also, the role of Cooperative Bank of Kenya.
Tumepata loan mingi zaidi ya milioni 40 kutoka Cobank.
So far, we've done around 5 coolers.
Standing tall at the heart of Tattoo City lies Lifestyle Height, a prestigious property in a prime area. Contact us and come see us for an amazing open day on the 27th and 28th of March.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching NTV Tonight. Still on Tanzania, which held a state funeral for the late President John Pombe Magufuli at the Jamhuri Stadium in the capital, Dodoma, today. Several African leaders, representatives and other dignitaries, led by the country's new President Samia Suluhu Hassan, graced the ceremony. Naoma Sampao has more.
A few minutes past 10 a.m., the casket carrying the body of the late Tanzanian President John Pombe Magufuli arrived on the streets of Dodoma. A car carrying his widow, Janet Magufuli, led a convoy through the capital as mourners lined the streets to bid farewell to the late president. Several of them wept and threw flower petals as the military vehicle made its way to the Jamhuri Stadium. An emotional Janet Magufuli broke down as she made her way to the dais. Mourners wailed as the body of their former president was taken round the stadium for them to view briefly before it was placed at the center of the stadium. Several African heads of state were present for the funeral ceremony, including the presidents of Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Comoros, Mozambique, Zambia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The leaders eulogized Magufuli as a principled leader, one who defended the rights of Tanzanians. As the ceremony came to a close, the heads of state paid their respects to the former president. Janet Magufuli uttered a prayer for her late husband before bending forward to kiss the casket. Magufuli's body is set to be taken to Zanzibar to allow citizens to bid farewell to their fallen leader tomorrow before being taken to Chato, Magufuli's hometown, on the 24th. More Tanzanians will be allowed to view his body in the streets of Chato on the 25th before his burial on Friday, 26th March. Naoma Sampao, NTV.
Back into the country, over 200,000 people and 500,000 livestock are facing starvation in Mandera County due to the failure of the October to December rains. The reality on the ground is grave, and the lives of livelihoods of thousands of nomadic cattle farmers are at stake. On this World Water Day, Rose Wangoi reports that wells and boreholes are drying up, with some residents migrating to neighboring countries.
The vast Mandera County is known to be arid with high temperatures and very little agricultural productivity. But this year Mandera is even drier because the last drops of rain that touched the soil were more than a year ago. Takaba receives little rain even in a normal year. What were once rich green pastures are now bare parched lands with dust and hot soil. All that is left are these dried twigs that the animals here try to feed on. They too try to survive with what is available. With not a drop for the last 8 or so months, according to the local community, life has become tough.
Misho yetu ya kuona mvua kwanza ni April last year. Ile mvua ya November, October, November ilifail.
At Wangeithan largest watering point, it's survival for the fittest. The watering point is a lifeline for both humans and livestock, and each drop of water here counts. These livestock have just arrived at this water point. It is not known when next they will be able to drink like this after they leave this place. Dozens of livestock have succumbed to the harsh conditions. Those that are still alive are emaciated and weak, with residents fearing more could be lost. Even camels, which are normally able to withstand weeks without water, are dying.
Ndio na hizi ng'ombe yote inatoka jana. Usiku inalala hapa katikati, ndio inaingia saa hii. Sisi kama kamati tumeka program. Tulisema first thing in the morning mbuzi ndio taanza kunywa maji. Baada ya mbuzi ng'ombe ndio taanza. Baada ya ng'ombe kuanzia saa 7 saa 8 ndio gamia anaingia. Ndio unaona hizi gamia ambaye imekonda imetoka huko saa hii, imeanza safari jana ndio inafika leo, alafu kesho kutwa ndio inarudi kwa boma ya watoto wale mewacha.
Ibrahim Hassan is here to water his goats, having trekked for 35 kilometers from a neighboring village.
Niliamuka saa 11. Sasa mbuzi zinafika hapa saa 4:30. Na saa 4:30 najua ni kali. Mbuzi ni kama watoto. Si kama haina nguvu kama ng'ombe na ngamia. Hawezi enda distance mbali sana. Zamani ilikuwa tukipeleka soko tunaweza nunua na shilingi 3,000, 4,000 ya kupatia watoto chakula ama kutolea watoto shule pesa. Sasa hiyo mbuzi sasa hata tayari imeanza kuisha. Mimi nilikuwa na 150 mbuzi. Sasa hata ni ile kidogo sasa uliona hiyo 30. Zinaanza kukufa. Tunanunulia mbuzi mahindi, ng'ombe mahindi, wanakula hizo vitu.
Sadia Mohammed makes her way to the water trough. She left her village at dawn to drive her family's herd to the watering point. But even after arriving at midday, Sadia animals have to wait, sometimes for up to 4 hours for their turn to drink.
I come here on a daily basis. If I don't, my goats will die of thirst. I also depend on this water for my domestic use.
Sadia had 100 goats, but 8 have already succumbed to drought. Some, she says, are too weak to walk, so she left them home. In an area already suffering from drought and other weather shocks, herders are struggling to survive after locust invasion destroyed pasture.
Locust ilikuwa mingi. Hii ndio inakuwa barabara ya locust. Hii mifugo yatakaba sauti yote, gamia, ng'ombe, mbuzi zinahara, zinaanza kukufa. So hawa wachungaji wetu wanasema inatokana ile mafia ambayo imewachwa na locust.
And now with the scorching sun and no rain, about 90% of the water pans and dams in this county have dried up. Takaba has 6 water pans. Some are too silted to hold any water.
These pans were constructed 20 years ago. They silted as a result of siltation. And in preparation for the coming rains, we decided to undertake the desilting work. They have been fully rehabilitated to their original capacity. We need to harvest and prepare the reservoirs for the coming rains so that we can harvest enough runoff to be used, stored and used during the dry spell in future.
In Banissa town, women crowd at the town's only water point. The remaining water sources cannot cope with the constant demand from livestock and humans. The distance traveled to fetch water in areas not served by boreholes or water tracking services has increased. The queuing time for domestic water has also increased. The only dam which serves a population of 15,000 people has dried up. The ground bears witness that it was long before it rained here.
Banissa Dam has been in existence since 1978. According to residents, this is the third time the dam is drying up due to the effects of climate change.
Sasa kwa vile population inaendelea kila wakati, binadamu naongezeka, mifugo naongezeka, this is the third time sasa Saranga inakauka.
Kwa muda mrefu hii Saranga ilikuanga na maji karibu miaka 8. Haikuwa inaishanga, lakini vile mvua ilikuwa kidogo short rains na vile hii mfereji ya Saranga sio nzuri, maji iliingia ndogo na mvua ilikuwa kidogo. Sasa karibu sasa this is the third week, wiki ya 3 maji ilikosekana kwa Saranga. Unaona county government naye inatupatia maji, inaweka kwa hizi matangi. Lakini hiyo maji bado haitutoshi na watu wetu wanatoka mbali kuja kutafuta maji. Sasa vile ilianza maji mpaka jioni saa 12 bado kina mama wanang'ang'ana kuchukua maji na hiyo maji haitutoshi. Tungeomba serikali yetu itupatie maji na itupelekee matangi nje. Vile mnaona vile hapa kuna uchafu nyingi. Hii maji uchafu ile kina mama wakiteka zinamwagika chini zinarudi kwa Saranga na inatuletea magonjwa mingi.
Hii damu haitaitosha hii town mpaka tupate well mzuri. Sasa tunaomba serikali yetu kuu na national wafanye jukumu yote ya kutafutia sisi kisima mzuri.
Farmers too are feeling the effects of the drought. Mohamed Kero defied all the prevailing conditions to grow fruits. 4 years ago, he sold all his livestock to cultivate his 2-acre farm. However, every time the county goes through a drought like now, his production is affected significantly, which means his income also goes down.
Mara nimeuza kama 30,000, mara 45,000, kitu kama hiyo. Lakini kwa sababu ya maji ndio sasa zile ambaye fruit ambayo imezaa yote zimekauka. Hapo alikuwa nimelialia sana kwa hata serikali ya county usaidizi kidogo ya hiyo tank ndio nimepata. Sasa nimeweza kuongeza ile miradi yangu kupeleka mbele kidogo, nimeongeza shamba ya nursery ya mamiti, ya hizi mamiti ya chakula na ile ya shade ya town.
For weeks now, buses hired by the county government have trucked water in areas with no permanent supply.
The drought has affected about 200,000 people. We are doing water tracking to all those centers, 320. We are also drilling contingency boreholes, which we drill 64 of them. 44 are successful, after that 35 are equipped, and that is able to produce more water in terms of about 9 million liters per day. Some of the areas are not even centers. Those are in the bush. We have to deliver, we have to supply the storage tanks.
Wild animals haven't been spared either.
There's a place where we are giving water to the monkeys in Tagaba, plus some feed, so that these animals, the flora and fauna is not disturbed and these animals do not perish. If the rains fail, this month, end of this month or next month, then the situation will be a bit crisis. We may see more animals dying.
Rozongwe, NTV.
Well, very important issues there raised by Rozongwe on this World Water Day. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, business news is up next.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
Okay, thank you. Hi there. Selena, it's great seeing you getting so much value for your money.
Well, it's important to save as much as you can.
You save everywhere. Except for here. This is where you're throwing money down the drain.
Ow!
On these cleaning products.
Impossible!
Harpic 10X. While other cleaners flow away, Harpic 10X's viscous formula in only one round of application gives you sparkling, clean toilet. Harpic, 10 times better cleaning than other cleaning products.
And great savings too.
NTV Business News in association with Sandy.
Well, some business news now. And the United Kingdom is seeking to use the just concluded economic partnership agreement with Kenya as a stepping stone to a regional agreement with the East African community. The British High Commissioner to Kenya, Jane Marriott, has revealed the EPA has now come into force, providing Kenya with a good opportunity to scale up her export volumes. Alex Mwangi reports.
The domestic processes required for the ratification of the Economic Partnership Agreement between Kenya and the United Kingdom are complete in both jurisdictions. The EPA, which was necessitated by Brexit, is now in effect.
We expect that the EPA will enable us to rapidly scale up the value of our exports to the UK from an average of 40 billion shillings annually. When we fully take advantage of this agreement, we will actually increase our exports to more than 2 trillion shillings in a very, very short period.
When you consider that many of Kenya's exports of fresh beans are actually grown by smallholder farmers, then you see how important it is that this agreement is to both large businesses and smaller producers.
For the UK, the ratification of the EPA represents another step forward towards its strategic priorities for trade with the East African region.
I just want to reiterate the UK's objective of achieving a regional trade agreement with the whole of the EAC. This will create jobs and prosperity across the whole of East Africa. So it's our intention that the agreement that we've signed with Kenya is a stepping stone to an even stronger regional integration in future.
The UK remains a key export destination for Kenya. The EPA between Britain and Kenya now means that Kenyan goods will access the UK duty-free, quota-free, a situation which had been negated by Brexit.
And for our members, the UK remains an indispensable trade partner, accounting for 10% of Kenya's tea exports, 18% of cut flowers, 53% of edible vegetable exports, fruits such as avocados 9%, pineapples 11%, coffee 3%. As of 2019, the UK was Kenya's 5th largest export destination, accounting for 7% of the total exports. Besides the traditional exports, ITC export potential map shows that UK has the 3rd highest untapped export potential for Kenyan goods, estimated at $203 million.
The challenge now is for the government to create a conducive environment for more businesses to take up value addition and export to the UK, given the underutilization of export opportunities that plagues Kenya, such as the case with the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And allowances could soon make up a maximum of only 40% of what every civil servant earns every month as the government moves to tame the ballooning public sector wage bill, which has expanded by over 90% in the last 5 years, crowding out resources meant for development. This is one of the proposals in the draft allowances and benefits policy, which has been opened for public participation.
At 827 billion shillings in the last financial year, Kenya already spends more than half of its annual revenues in salaries and wages for government employees. The astonishing amount of money spent on allowances, which stood at 322.5 billion shillings in the 2018-2019 financial year, has been cited as a major factor behind the country's unsustainable but expanding mountain of wage bill.
It's amazing that we have 247 distinct allowances in the public sector. 247. I mean, that number in itself just tells you that something is wrong about the design of the wage structure, because it means that anybody can sit in their office and find one way or the other to claim an allowance in addition to their wage.
You have institutions who will pay extraneous allowance and responsibility allowance. But there is a thin line between the two in terms of eligibility criteria and the reason for paying the two. So you'll find that in some cases, an employee would be paid both. But if you look at the reasons why they are being paid, it's more or less for the same thing.
Through the draft policy, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission (SRC) wants allowances and benefits to be limited to 5 categories, including house allowance, commuter allowance, job-related allowances, task-related allowances, and labor market adjustment allowances, and also cap the ratio of basic salary to gross salary at 60%.
If you take your gross pay today, on average, 48% would be allowances. However, we have institutions that pay as high as 100% or even more than 100, where if you take allowances constitute more than 100% of basic salary.
The policy, whose final copy will be issued before the next financial year, which begins next July, also proposes that allowances and benefits shall not be used to compute pension pay. Victor Kiprop, NTV.
The Dock Workers Union now wants the government to come up with a legislative framework to tame what they term as the risk of illegal privatization of ports in the country. Kenya rakes in an average of 36.9 billion shillings in revenue from ports annually, which the Union Secretary General Simon Sang says risks being lost through privatization.
We would like to have a permanent seal on the issue of privatizing the port. The port of Mombasa, the cartels, and some of the investors have been eyeing this port of Mombasa to be privatized in a manner that was not beneficial to Kenya and to the people of this region.
And on that note, let's take another short break. We still have more. Stay with us.
NTV Business News in association with Sandy.
What does it take to move a nation? It takes Sandy.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust to provide effective relief and is gentle on the stomach. Try Panadol Advance for relief from headaches, body aches, and fever. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet gently breaks down in the stomach, quickly absorbs, and starts providing pain relief in 15 minutes. For fast and effective pain relief that you can trust, try Panadol Advance. This has been Medifax for Panadol.
This looks different.
It is. See for yourself.
Okay, so it's a photo.
Look closer. Photos within photos.
What about video?
8K video. Beyond cinema quality.
So
you can pull portrait quality photos straight from video.
But will it last the whole trip?
Battery for the whole trip and the way back.
This is different.
Told you.
Do your gums hurt? Yeah. Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile? All that in one toothpaste? Yes. Try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums. Ah, Colgate Herbal. Let's go. Colgate Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally.
Thank you for staying with us. The government says it has recovered 53 firearms in the ongoing operation to flash out bandits in Kapedo region. I beg your pardon. The dusk to dawn curfew imposed a month ago has also been lifted following the expiry of the 30-day period. The Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government says cattle rustling, banditry and general lawlessness have been brought under control. The ministry also says roadblocks will be retained and humanitarian assistance facilitated. The government launched an operation in the restive region early in the year after a GSU commandant was shot and killed by bandits. And a court in Mombasa has ruled that 3 police officers and their retired colleague have a case to answer in the matter of Alexander Monson, son of a British aristocrat who allegedly died while in police custody in Diani in Kwale County back in 2012. While issuing his ruling on the application to have the officers held accountable, Justice Eric Ogola indicated that the prosecution has provided a watertight case against the accused. The judge indicated that the officers have a responsibility to explain to court what transpired on the fateful night prior to the death of the deceased. Through their lawyers, the accused have told the court that they will table the evidence under oath. Justice Ogola has also warned the accused persons against interfering with witnesses as they risk revocation of their bond terms. Defense hearing is scheduled to begin on the May 10th.
Nobody has told me of a case. You tell me if you want.
Meanwhile, in other stories making headlines beyond our borders, the Republic of Congo's opposition candidate Guy Brice Parfait Colessas has died of COVID-19 as he was being transferred to France for treatment. Colessas' campaign director said his death came the day after the presidential elections in which he was the main challenger. Colessas died in a medical aircraft which came to transport him from Brazzaville to France on Sunday afternoon. In his last remarks, the opposition candidate had told citizens that he was in trouble and was fighting death. He went on to urge them to vote for change, otherwise he would have fought for nothing. And we'll be bringing you all the stories making headlines in the world of sports after this break.